All right, so I want to talk about the pandemic and career changes or career transitions and opportunities. So there are 10 occupations that have been heavily hit the most by the pandemic, right? According to the Gallup poll that was taken. Um, so here's what the findings have been. I'm just going to read them off to you. They are service workers, arts, design, entertainment, and media workers. That's two, right? So service workers is one, arts, design, entertainment, and media workers is two. Um, Three, small business owners, okay? Construction or mining workers, sales workers, right? People in just sales positions, transportation workers, manufacturing and production workers, installation, maintenance, or repair workers, healthcare workers. It's kind of interesting saying that they were impacted, and then clerical or office workers. Okay, so that kind of feels like almost everyone, but um, that's what the findings have been. Okay, all right. Um, okay, good. All right. That said, what does that mean for you? So, if you are in any of those industries, now here's the other thing I also want to say. As far as impacting these 10 positions or 10 occupations, there's three things that actually impact them. It's either you've been laid off in those industries, you have experienced reduced hours, and you're still in that industry, but you've reduced, fewer hours you can work, or you've got reduced pay. Okay, reduced pay is huge in some of these, as much as reduced pay 50%, as far as let's say transportation workers, right? Have lost, right? Have gotten reduced pay. So anyway, all that said, um, where are you in that, right? What's your experience, right? Have you reduced hours? Have you reduced pay, or of course been laid off? And what do you do now? So I'm going to share with you a quick story that's relevant to this, because about 2010, around 2009, 2010, right? That was the last sort of like a big economic shakedown that I lived through. And one of the things you can do, right, and this is where the story is coming from, is you can actually, if you've been laid off or experience one of those three conditions, a layoff, reduced hours, or reduced pay, there's three options that you have as far as what you want to do to recover that income, right? One, you can go back to school, right? Or participate in some training to retool and prepare for future opportunities that you know are going to be paying more, right? Because some industries are not coming back, or some aspects of some industries aren't coming back. Two, change your lifestyle. What I mean by that is, if you have reduced hours, right, and of course reduced pay, then you've got to change something in your lifestyle, like move into a smaller unit, consume less. I mean, you name it. Whatever those changes are, you're going to have to like shrink back a little bit, right, to accommodate for the new changes. And then the last thing you're going to experience that you have an option to do is actually to match or exceed your current income with, watch this, your intellectual capital. Okay? That's the third thing you can do. Now, what does that mean to match or exceed your current income with intellectual capital? So going back to 2009, 2010, that time period, there was a shift, right? I was in the manufacturing industry, right? In the bridge manufacturing industry. So it's related, of course, to steel and, infrastructure, okay? Now, as an engineer, right, up until then, I'd had different roles where I'd worked as a project engineer, assistant engineer, really more project management type work. But there was something that I learned along the way, right? Now, just to define what I mean by intellectual capital is what you know that the average person doesn't, that you can also capitalize on. Whoops. Hit my mic here, that you can capitalize on and offer as a service or a product, right? And you'll notice this anytime like people retire, they always come back sometimes to the same company as a consultant, right? Because they know something that most everyone who doesn't, in that company doesn't know at the same level that they do, right? Okay, so when I came out of that industry, I had a specific like layer of knowledge about project engineering that was superior. Most people don't even understand what that involves. That's things like document control, right? Most people don't understand how to set up a document control management system. As crazy as that sounds, right? I was just one of the tens of hundreds of things that I knew how to set up to make a business or a small business work or run. And so one of the things I had an idea about was bringing everything that I'd learned as an engineer over the course of almost 10 years by that point, and bringing that into the small business consulting community, right? Fast forward, I also use that to launch a future in digital marketing, right? And digital marketing strategy. I implemented and everything that I'd learned from that industry into a different industry. Okay. So for you, right, so that was my intellectual capital. My intellectual capital was the ins and outs and strategies and approaches for project engineering that I could actually apply to a new industry, right? That I was stepping into as a digital marketer. Okay. So for you, what does that look like? Now I want to also highlight that along with that, something that I didn't know then that I now know was everything that I'd learned, right? At that time, I mean, we weren't necessarily, it was a different arena when it came to just digital products. But one of the things that I discovered and I now know is that all that could have been packaged into a course, right? Like an online course. And with an online course, what happens is you are now in a position where you can lay something out over the course of a 3 or 4 week period. And in that period of time, teach and educate, train and coach people using what you know, right? Based on your industry and how it applies to others, right? To another field, okay? And knowing that now, I have, of course, been able to work as a digital marketer, work as a digital marketing strategy, work as a digital marketing implementation specialist, using what I learned from that industry, right? From being in the manufacturing industry, being in the engineering field overall, and applying that to an entire new career, right? So now, of course, I've got a course, and I coach other consultants and subject matter experts and specialists in how to set theirs up, right? And that might be the thing that you would be interested in, right? And if you are, then I would invite you to have a conversation with me about how that could look for you. Okay, so if you're up for that, let's have a conversation about what that could look like and what it takes. Now, I want to close out with something specific that I have worked on over the course of actually these past few months. And the recent discovery was that for you to set up a consulting program or a consulting course, it really begins with 10 accounts. Right? So I recently finished part of a consulting project that was launched, and it created a ridiculous amount of revenue for the client, right? And they were a subject matter expert, right? A coach and a consultant who had a particular course or program that they were looking to launch, okay? And so we did that in a very short period of time, and generated right now probably approaching $200,000 in revenue. Now, just so we're very, very clear, that does not guarantee that you're going to have the same result or the same outcome. I'm just sharing that to let you know that what was done on that project was really, really effective, okay? And that something similar, comparable to that, is available if you are someone who's really clear about what your specialization is based on your industry, okay? All right. So that said, those 10 accounts are 10 accounts that can really be implemented and set up for you to be able to run a high income generating course, right? Based on what? Your intellectual capital. Okay? So that said, thank you for watching. Hope this has been of value and use to you. I'm looking forward to having a conversation with you if you qualify, right? Because I cannot coach anyone who doesn't necessarily have a specific special body of knowledge, which I refer to as intellectual capital. Yeah, and I look forward to working with you, right? So head over to the link below, right? If you are interested, and if you want to learn about the 10 account strategy that was used for this client, you can head over to also the link below that's available below this, and we'll take it from there.